The top 3 causes of death on Everest are avalanches, mainly thanks to the tragedies of 2014 and 2015, edema and altitude sickness. What are the 4 main causes of death on Mount Everest? Deaths have been attributed to avalanches, falls, serac collapses, sun exposure, frostbite, or health problems related to mountain conditions. Not all of the bodies have been recovered, so details of the deaths were not available. What killed the most people on Mount Everest? A study of the number of fatalities on Everest between 1921 and 2006 found that of the 94 fatalities above 8,000 meters, 59 fell or disappeared. 36% of the climbers who died suffered from severe fatigue and 22% suffered from significant cognitive impairment. How long greater than do people die on Mount Everest? In November 2022, 310 people died trying to climb Mount Everest. Most of the dead are still on the mountain. Some bodies were never found. Others served as ominous markers on the trail, and others were discovered years later when the weather changed. What happens to dead bodies in Everest's death zone? No human body can fit in the death zone and above. The body uses stored oxygen faster than it can replenish it. Prolonged presence in the area without supplemental oxygen will result in deterioration of bodily functions, loss of consciousness and possibly death. Why don't they remove the bodies from Mount Everest? Transporting corpses out of the dead zone is a dangerous task. It's expensive, it's dangerous, it's extremely dangerous for the Sherpas, Everest climber Alan Arnett previously told CBC. Why can't corpses leave Mount Everest? When someone dies on Everest, especially in the death zone, it is almost impossible to recover the body. The weather, terrain and lack of oxygen made access to the corpse difficult. Even when they can be found, they're usually stuck in the ground, frozen in place. What are the chances of dying if you climb Everest? Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world, attracts hundreds of climbers each year and has a fatality rate of 14.1%. What are the top 2 causes of death on Mount Everest? The top 3 causes of death on Everest are avalanches, mainly thanks to the tragedies of 2014 and 2015, edema and altitude sickness. How long can you survive in Mount Everest's death zone? People are advised not to stay in the death zone longer than 4 to 8 p.m., the media said. Shorter stays can also be fatal. Of the more than 200 climbers who died on Everest, most died in the death zone. What is the biggest danger of climbing Mount Everest? Altitude sickness, or altitude sickness, is the greatest risk faced by Everest climbers and newcomers to Tibet. This will affect many aspects of their health. The higher they climbed, the less oxygen there was in the air.